Rams Nation, hold on to your seats because everything we thought we knew about our offense is about to shift. We are heading into a massive identity change for the upcoming season, ditching our traditional look for a bold, heavy formation that could completely break opposing defenses. But here is the burning question. Can we still stretch the field and maintain that lethal vertical threat without our usual receivers? This massive tactical pivot is raising eyebrows across the league, and I have all the details on why this evolution is a total game changer. Smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. The Los Angeles Rams are undergoing a significant offensive transformation in 2026, shifting their core identity away from the traditional 11 personnel grouping that defined the Sean McVay era. For years, the team relied heavily on 3 wide receivers to stretch the field and manipulate defensive schemes. However, the success of a heavier approach, particularly the 13 personnel formation, featuring 3 tight ends, has forced a strategic pivot. This change became undeniable in Week 7 of the previous season against the Jacksonville Jaguars. In that dominant 35-7 victory, the team scored 4 of their 5 touchdowns using this heavy personnel grouping. By season's end, the Rams were utilizing 13 personnel on 30.5% of their offensive snaps and generating an impressive 77.4 total EPA. This evolution has immediate consequences for the roster construction, as the emphasis on tight ends has phased out traditional wide receiver roles. Players like Tutu Atwell have seen their opportunities diminish significantly, and Jordan Whittington experienced a sharp decline in his weekly snap count. Because the coaching staff no longer mandates 3 wideouts on the field simultaneously, the requirement for that specific depth has plummeted. While the efficiency of these heavy sets is statistically clear, the team must navigate the tactical adjustment of moving away from the spread formations that were once their signature. Opposing defenses will have a full offseason to study and prepare for these looks, meaning the element of surprise that helped propel the offense last year will likely evaporate. As the team prepares for the upcoming season, the primary challenge remains maintaining a vertical threat that forces safeties to remain honest, ensuring that the heavy 13 personnel packages do not become stagnant or predictable for opposing secondaries. It is finally time to shout, "Ram it!" and embrace the evolution. The transition to a heavier 13 personnel focus highlights a specific concern regarding vertical spacing, a problem the franchise previously encountered during the 2020 campaign. Following the departure of deep threats like Brandon Cooks, the offense struggled to keep defensive backs from playing tight at the line of scrimmage, while safeties were free to squeeze down and neutralize play-action crossing routes. That 2020 unit averaged 0.01 EPA per play, ranking 23rd in the NFL, serving as a cautionary tale of what happens when the deep ball is removed from the playbook. Jared Goff struggled significantly during that stretch, ranking 26th among qualifying quarterbacks in completions of 20 or more yards and completing just 30.2% of such attempts. The concern in 2026 is that if the Rams commit fully to 13 personnel without a reliable deep threat, they could fall into the same trap of a condensed, ineffective passing attack. While the front office has explored options like potentially signing Stephon Diggs to bolster the receiver room, given that Diggs led the NFL with a 72.7% success rate on 11 deep targets last year, the reality is that the team is leaning heavily on internal development to solve this puzzle. The reliance on Xavier Smith last season provided a temporary solution, as his average depth of target of 40 yards led the league, and his 19.3 yards per route run ranked 8th, but he remains an unproven commodity for a team operating within a Super Bowl window. The question currently facing the organization is whether they can synthesize the blocking prowess of 3 tight ends with the explosive vertical speed required to prevent defenses from collapsing the middle of the field and locking down the intermediate passing lanes that the team thrives on during standard game scripts. Why does this matter right now for the team? The shift to 13 personnel is not merely a personnel grouping change, it is a fundamental reconfiguration of the team's offensive philosophy for 2026. Because the Rams are prioritizing tight ends with diverse skill sets, the depth of the roster has become intrinsically linked to the development of second-year players like Terrence Ferguson, The team's ability to remain competitive depends on whether these tight ends can replicate the speed and vertical impact previously provided by wide receivers. If the offense cannot force safeties to defend every blade of grass, the efficiency of their new heavy sets will likely plummet as defensive coordinators stack the box and ignore the potential for deep shots. The Rams must balance the structural advantage of having 3 tight ends on the field, which creates mismatch opportunities in the run game and allows for robust protection, with the technical requirement of having at least one player who possesses the top-end speed to threaten the secondary. Without that vertical pressure, the play-action game, which is the heartbeat of this offense, loses its potency. The impact on the current roster is profound. The reduction in snaps for traditional wide receivers like Tutu Atwell signifies that the team is putting its faith in the tight end room to carry the load as both blockers and deep field threats. This strategy relies on the assumption that personnel efficiency will override the lack of a prototypical deep threat receiver. If this gamble fails, the offense risks becoming predictable, forcing the coaching staff to scramble for solutions mid-season, which could jeopardize their consistency against top-tier defensive opponents who are well-equipped to handle condensed personnel groupings and high-pressure situations throughout the year. Enter Terrence Ferguson, the primary candidate to resolve the vertical threat problem within the 13 personnel framework. During the 2025 draft process, Ferguson distinguished himself as the fastest tight end prospect, clocking a 4.63 in the 40-yard dash. While his rookie season was statistically quiet, he demonstrated a capacity to win at all levels of the field, showcasing a speed profile that allows him to exploit linebackers and overwhelm defensive backs in space. The statistics from his debut year are particularly revealing. Despite playing only 38.7% of offensive snaps, he led all tight ends with 13 targets of 20 yards or more. 2 of his 3 total touchdowns also originated from these deep ball opportunities, suggesting that he is already acclimated to the role of a vertical weapon. The organization is betting that with more experience and improved chemistry with Matthew Stafford, Ferguson's efficiency will climb. A key area for improvement is his contested catch ability, as he only converted 1 of 5 such targets during his rookie year. However, the physical tools are undeniable. His size presents a significant mismatch nightmare that allows him to play over the top of coverage in a way that traditional wide receivers in this scheme no longer do. By utilizing a player of his build to stretch the field, the team hopes to prevent the same issues they faced in 2020, where the field felt claustrophobic and limited. Ferguson provides the unique opportunity to maintain the blocking benefits of 3 tight ends while still maintaining a dangerous vertical presence. He is no longer just a project. He is the focal point of the team's attempt to modernize their attack while keeping their established, successful, and heavy-duty identity firmly intact for the coming season. The path forward for the Los Angeles Rams in 2026 is anchored in the belief that Terrence Ferguson can successfully balance the demands of being both a tight end and a vertical threat. While the acquisition of a veteran like Stephon Diggs remains a possibility that would undoubtedly add security to the receiver room, the current offensive structure is being built specifically to accommodate Ferguson's unique athletic profile. By forcing safeties to account for a tight end who runs like a wide receiver, the offense effectively keeps the defensive secondary from pinching in to stop the run or crowding the intermediate routes that define the team's success. The coaching staff is banking on the fact that this specific skill set is more valuable than just having a fast wide receiver on the sideline, as it forces defensive coordinators to make difficult choices about personnel. If the opponent plays base defense to combat the heavy 13 looks, Ferguson can win vertically against slower linebackers. If they play nickel, the team retains the physical advantage at the line of scrimmage. This calculated risk regarding the team's depth at wide receiver is a direct result of the efficiency observed in their heavy sets last season. By the time training camp concludes, the hierarchy of the passing game will likely be settled, with Ferguson emerging as the primary deep ball option within these expanded formations. The organization is not just hoping for success, they are actively designing an offense that prioritizes this versatility. As the team moves through the offseason, the focus remains entirely on whether this experiment in personnel usage can translate into sustained production, proving that the shift to 13 personnel was the correct strategic adjustment for their long-term offensive goals in 2026.